Member for Pittwater and the Minister for Education, the Honourable Dr Rob Stokes, the Member for Kemba and the Shadow Minister for Education, Mr Jihad Dib, Member for Epping, Mr Damien Tudorhope, distinguished members and guests of the Teachers Guild of New South Wales. On behalf of the Teachers Guild of Council, our members, our stakeholders, I'm pleased to welcome you to the 2018 Teachers Guild of New South Wales Annual Dinner and Presentation of Awards as part of our World Teachers' Day at the beautiful venue of the Concord Golf Club. This evening is a celebration of the amazing, talented, innovative, progressive and essential work that educators do on a daily basis to ensure Australians have access to and receive the best possible education available. These awards highlight the achievements and the diversity of the education profession across our state. Each year, these awards honour an educator of great standing, who also has a guild connection. This year, we are delighted to honour Mrs Frances Fleeton, past President of the Teachers Guild of New South Wales, who has been actively involved in education for many, many years as a teacher, administrator and a principal. These awards tonight are an opportunity to publicly acknowledge the work of all teachers. These awards recognise the outstanding professional contribution to education made by teachers. On these important occasions, like World Teachers' Day, we celebrate and acknowledge the achievements of our teachers in an increasingly complex, multicultural and technological society. The Teachers Guild of New South Wales greatly admire the commitment of teachers in enhancing their professional knowledge, improving their teaching practice and engaging with their students, and in their ongoing relationships with the wider community. I would like to congratulate your contributions to an informed and cohesive society and wish you every success and fulfilment for the future. I hope this evening offers you a wonderful opportunity to socialise with members, colleagues and friends. And I wish you a great satisfaction and enjoyment in your work and future endeavours. Congratulations on making a real difference in the lives of our students. I would now like to ask Dr David Williams, AM, for the welcome to country.
Thanks very much, Fred. I acknowledge the Wengard clan, the traditional custodians of the land on which we celebrate this evening. I pay respect to elders past, present and emerging.
Australians, oh let us rejoice, for we are young and free, with golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is girt by sea, our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty rich and rare. In history's page let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
The Guild represents teachers from all levels and promotes a long-established theme of deep interest in the professional development and encouragement of colleague educators, providing opportunities for members of the profession to network, refine skills and receive recognition. As the longest established professional organisation for teachers in Australia, the Guild has for 126 years been an important influence in the history of education in New South Wales and continues its commitment to the care of teaching, standing on the shoulders of past and current members who have helped to shape education in its state and positively enrich countless number of school students' lives. I would particularly like to thank Dr Rob Stokes, the Minister for Education, for being here this evening to give us an introduction to the opening of the 2018 Teachers Guild of New South Wales Annual Awards evening. Thank you, Dr. Stokes.
Well, thank you, Dr. Osman, and thank you so much for your leadership of the Teachers Guild, an organisation that has served the interests of the profession for 126 years, which is a strong legacy of service to a particularly noble profession, which is particularly worth observing on World Teachers' Day. I'd also like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet and celebrate this evening, the Wongal clan of the Eora Nation, to pay my respect to elders past, present and future, and to extend those respects to Aboriginal people in the room with us tonight. I'd also like to acknowledge our guest of honour, as well as fellows of the Guild, members of the Guild, teachers and supporters of the Guild, as well as my parliamentary colleagues, Damien Tudorhope, member for Epping, as well as Jihad Dib, the member for Lakemba. Ladies and gentlemen, this being World Teachers' Day, I thought I would offer some reflections on the difficulty in the modern age of defining the role description of a teacher in a contemporary neoliberal heuristic through which the world is viewed. It's interesting today because the way in which we define our workforce and our position within the workforce is increasingly transactional. We're defined by not so much what we do, but rather by what we earn. We're seen not as relational beings, but as fulfilling a particular function in society, a functionalist approach, rather than a relational approach. And of course, teaching as a profession is, in that context, or according to that worldview, a round peg seeking to fit into a square hole. Because of course, teaching is not one of those transactive jobs. It's not like you could take someone with a particular aptitude and train them to be a teacher in the same way as you could take someone with a particular aptitude and train them to become an accountant. And it's also not like an accountant that you leave the job and you enter a world which is where you become anonymous. Instead, as a teacher, your role defines you as a human being. And it's difficult in a role which is relational and in which you perform a crucial function as an example to separate yourself entirely from the workforce. As many jobs in the past were defined as what you did was who you were, teaching still harkens back to those days when a teacher is what they do. That makes the task so much more complex and so much more difficult to come up with a functional description of precisely how to define the role of a teacher in a modern society. Is a teacher an instructor? Well, not really. Is a teacher a leader? Yes, in certain circumstances, in certain functions. Is a teacher a guide? Is a teacher a supporter? Is a teacher an encourager? Is a teacher a moralist? Is a teacher an example? Yes, all of these things and more, and of course different things to different students and over different periods of their lives. It's an impossibly complex task to seek to reduce to some sort of simple description. Looking at this beautiful room that we're in, I noted that it is Art Deco. It comes from the 20s, 1930s. And it's fascinating to reflect that that was a period in the United States where two nowadays little-known public intellectuals had a fierce debate, John Dewey and Walter Lippmann. And they were looking at the role of educators in that period that was a period of great uncertainty and change in the United States and indeed across much of the world, where this interwar period was a time of much industrial unrest, of political uncertainty. There were the storm clouds of an unresolved conflict that everyone knew at some point was likely to reignite. There was the spectre of economic collapse. There was so much change. And during this change, there was populist attack on many leading institutions. And these two public intellectuals were grappling with What's the role of the teacher in guiding society into what was a very uncertain future? John Dewey, in seeking to describe education, described it, I think, quite pithily and well as not something that prepares you for life, but rather something that is life itself. And I think captured something of the trajectory of education, that it's a lifelong pursuit in which we are all involved. But he also interestingly reflected that the great purpose of teaching, what we are preparing young people for, is not some particular functional role in society. We're not preparing them to get a great mark in the HSC necessarily. That's not the end game of what education is about. We're not preparing them to be a banker or a lawyer or a doctor or a nurse or a midwife or any particular role. What he said was it was a great moral pursuit, that actually what teaching was all about was preparing what he termed a moral citizenry. And so these two gentlemen talked about the nature of teachers as moralists, which in one sense is a disconcerting description today, but nevertheless captures this idea as the difficult role of actually seeking to provide some sort of moral guide in order to equip young people to make a contribution to society as well-formed citizens, regardless as to what career they might choose. And in so doing, Walter Lippmann, in a book that he wrote in 1929, A Preface to Morals, said something that has, I find very profound in talking about teachers specifically and leadership in teaching, said that periods of periods when custom is unsettled are necessarily ages of prophecy. In such times, the moralist must not so much seek to teach what has been revealed, but rather reveal what can be taught. The moralist must seek insight rather than to preach. And I think that points in a current age of great uncertainty, when we're not entirely sure of what the future is that we are preparing young people for, rather than taking a reductive sort of instructional approach to teaching. Instead, the role of teaching becomes so much more complex and so much more expansive and so much more difficult, because again, the future we're preparing young people for itself is completely unknowable. So in Walter Lippmann's terms, ages of uncertainty become ages of prophecy, and teachers in this role are the prophets, trying to guide young people and equip them with the skills they will need to face an uncertain future. So in a time when we look at the world through this very neoliberal heuristic, when roles are defined in transactive terms, it's almost impossible to capture the contribution that teachers make in a relational context, which is far more chaotic, far more messy, far more difficult. It requires equal measures of authority and vulnerability as well, which makes it so impossibly difficult, but also so unbelievably important. That's why it is critical that we celebrate the role of teachers. The role of teachers today in a period of great uncertainty, what Margaret Archer calls morphogenetic change, when we're changing from one period of relative stability to what will ultimately be a new period of stability, but in the meantime, politically, culturally, socially, technologically, we're in great uncertainty, which exhibits itself in the anxiety that many young people are going through. In those periods, the role of teaching and the role of teachers becomes more important than ever. We're in one of those periods now, and I suspect we'll be in it for the next generation. And the impact that everyone in this room will make will reverberate for generations to come. So I want to encourage you, I want to salute you, and I want to wish you all a very happy World Teachers' Day. Thank you.
To commence our award presentations, I would like to invite Dr. Stokes to help present the 2018 Honorary Fellows of the Teachers Guild New South Wales, and Catherine Cullen will assist with the awards. The Honorary Fellows of the Teachers Guild New South Wales recognises outstanding educators who have made major contributions within their mainstream sphere of work and more broadly across the profession. Our distinguished fellows join a group of very accomplished leaders who will provide significant value to our profession and be entitled to use the prestigious post-nominals Honorary Fellowship of Teachers Guild of New South Wales. Our first recipient, please come forward. Dr. Paul Burgess. Dr. Paul Burgess has been involved in education for over 35 years and has held significant leadership roles during his time in both secondary and tertiary institutions. Dr. Paul Burgess is a worthy recipient of the Teachers Guild of New South Wales Honorary Fellowship Award. Mr. John Goh. Mr. John Goh has been working in education all of his teaching career. He's been a principal of Maryland's East Public School since 2005 and is recognised as a leader of innovation, creativity and learning at the school. Earlier this year, he was awarded the Commonwealth Bank and Schools Plus Teaching Award. Mr. John Goh is a worthy recipient of the Teachers Guild of New South Wales Honorary Fellowship Award. Dr. Bronwyn Wade Lewin. Dr. Bronwyn Wade Lewin has been working as a classroom teacher in primary and secondary education since 1986 to the present, as well as tutoring of teacher education programs and educator at Macquarie University Department of Educational Studies since 2010. Dr. Bronwyn Wade Lewin is a worthy recipient of the Teachers Guild of New South Wales Honorary Fellowship. Dr. Linda O'Brien. Unfortunately, Dr. Linda O'Brien is not here. She's overseas. And this award will be accepted by the Deputy Principal of Granville Boys High, Fiona Cullenwood. Dr. Linda O'Brien is a worthy recipient of the Teachers Guild of New South Wales Honorary Fellowship Award. Minister, our next presentation is for our Junior and Senior School Awards, Early Years. These awards are for teachers in their early years of teaching for outstanding primary and secondary school teachers in New South Wales and ACT. These awards in 2018 have been very popular, and we thank the generous sponsorship of ANZ UK, providing quality educators since 2004, every way, every day, and always in supporting this award category. I would now like to invite Daniel Mundy, the CEO for ANZ UK, to present these awards with the Minister. The Primary School Division, there were 4 finalists shortlisted. Our first recipient, Rebecca Flannery from King Koppel, Rose Bay. John Forbes, Blue Mountains Grammar School. Mark Gannon, Trinity Grammar School. Brenton Herbert, Lakes Grammar School. And the 2018 Primary School Division winner is Mark Gannon, Trinity Grammar School. We now move on to the Secondary School Division. There were 6 finalists shortlisted for this award. Our first recipient, Jason Borg, Georges River Grammar. Alice Miskell, St John Bosco College, Engadine. Katie Schuskow, De La Salle College, Ashfield. Sarah Vassallo, Radford College, ACT. Chrissy Ward, The Scots College, Albury. Daniel Woolley, Barker College. And the 2018 Secondary School Division winner is Jason Borg, Georges River Grammar. Our next award, Minister, is the presentation of the Guild's scholarships. Our highly commended award recipient is Larissa Sini from the University of Sydney. And the 2018 Guild Scholarship winner is Geordie Polly from the University of Sydney. We'd like to start our presentations of our next awards, which are the presentation of the Guild Research Award and the Teachers Mutual Bank Award that are offered to a postgrad student and experienced teacher in New South Wales who is currently completing or completed an outstanding research of direct benefit to classroom teaching. We thank the generous sponsorship from the Teachers Mutual Bank, We Put You First, in supporting this award category. I would now like to invite Mr. Damien Tudorhope, MP, and Connor Keenan, stakeholder engagement from the Teachers Mutual Bank, to come forward, which will be supported by Catherine Cullen to help them deliver the awards. In 2018, there were 5 finalists shortlisted for the Research Award. Our first recipient, Simon Crook from the University of Sydney. Elizabeth Three from University of New South Wales. Helena Granziera from University of New South Wales. Sherry Zin U from the University of New South Wales. Connor West, University of Wollongong. The 2018 Teachers Mutual Bank Award winner is Helena Granzera from University of New South Wales. And the Research Award winner for 2018 is Elizabeth Free from the University of New South Wales. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to look at the Guild History Presentation launch. The Teachers Guild of New South Wales is a remarkable body which for 125 years has maintained its foundation aim to promote in all possible ways the care of education. The Council of the Teachers Guild of New South Wales is delighted to produce Caring of Education, celebrating 125 years of the Teachers Guild of New South Wales, a publication that builds on Beverly Fletcher's history published in 1992. Beverly's work is brought up to date through the contributions of the Guild presidents, from Rex Morgan's reflection in the 1960s and 70s to Francis Fleeton, our immediate past president and president from 2005 to 2015. The contributions of the Guild presidents are supplemented by 2 additional special studies by life members and former executive members of the Guild Council, Denise Thomas and Rick Stevens. Denise focused on the contribution of women throughout the 125-year history, while Rick has given us a personal reflection of his time as a student of the Guild Teachers College, where he began his internship in 1968. My special thanks are extended to Mr. Ian Keese, without whom this publication would not have been possible. Ian has been the driving force behind the development of the publication, working closely within 8 contributing authors, and it only took 7 months to put together. I would now like to invite Ian Keys to come forward and officially launch the publication celebrating 125 years of the Teach Guild of New South Wales this evening. Please welcome Ian Keys.
Thank you, Fred, for that, and distinguished guest, welcome tonight. I'd like first to express my thanks to Fred and the Guild for trusting me with this responsibility, commemorating 125 years of the Teachers Guild. It has been hard work, as Fred indicated, meeting such a tight time frame. It had to be done for today, and we managed to do it, which is great. It was also a pleasurable and, for me, an enlightening journey. In some ways, I was a strange choice for the task. My own education, my 35-year teaching career, all took place in what we used to call the public education system. It's worth recalling, as pointed out in a recent book by Stuart Piggin and Robert Linder called The Foundation of Public Prosperity, that state education, say up to the 1960s, was perhaps the greatest evangelical achievement of all, promoting a civic Protestantism, Protestantism, that the state school was built in a way on a broad religious belief. And I think we've got to remember that secular did not mean non-religious originally. Secular meant non-sectarian, that we listen to the people, other people's beliefs. So for me, committing to the public system was, in a way, part of my religious conviction. But it's also through involvement in education that I met many of the contributors to this volume. And deep down, I know we share the same convictions. We all aim to prepare young girls and boys to be morally sensitive and resilient citizens. It would have been impossible to produce this volume in 9 or 7 months from its inception with the abilities and dedication without the abilities and dedication of all the contributors. And I'd like to thank them for it. I'd like to make a special mention of Denise Thomas, who unfortunately could not be here tonight, who did a great deal of further research. And one of the positive features of this was going back to our archives. She provided the majority of the illustrations and gave me editorial support. As I pointed out in the introduction to the book, 2 things about the Teachers Guild stand out for me. The first is the way that it has survived for 125 years, which is amazing for any organisation. And it's done that by reinventing itself time after time. It discovers something new, someone else takes over, and the Guild then finds a new area of expertise to work on. And I think these awards are a great sign of what the Guild is doing, rewarding all these innovators, young teachers in education. So when the definitive history comes to be written, I hope this little book will be of some use. So I wish the Guild many more years of caring for education. Thank you very much.
We now move forward to the introduction of our guest of honour, Mrs. Frances Fleeton. Having won a Commonwealth Scholarship in 1973, Frances undertook a science degree at Sydney University while managing a young family and decided to continue studying with a Diploma of Education at the Sydney Teachers College. After teaching at Belmore Boys High School and St George Girls High School for a short periods of time, she was fortunate to be appointed to the science staff at Ravenswood School for Girls, Gordon, in 1978, where she introduced the first of many holiday excursions to the Great Barrier Reef. After 7 years travelling across Sydney to work, she transferred to the science staff at Merredin School, Stratfield. During her 20 years of teaching at Merredin, Frances successfully moved from a head of house, year coordinator, student welfare coordinator, and finally to a deputy head of students. She undertook many interstate and overseas tours for both recreation and study of the environment, as well as introducing a comprehensive and sequential outdoor education program which complemented the pastoral program of the school where she had developed. During this time, she was a member of the AIS PDHP advisory group. In 2005, she was asked to join the staff at Arden Anglican School, which was a new and developing secondary school in Epping. At the same time, she undertook a master's degree in leadership and management in education. She was appointed to head of senior school to oversee the establishment and development of the school, as well as being acting principal for 3 terms in 2009 to 2010. In 2012, she retired from Arden Anglican School and worked as an education consultant, undertaking staff appraisals. She then worked at another developing independent secondary school at Greenacre, Al Sadat College, to mentor its first cohort of HSC students and staff, assisting with the implementation of the national curriculum and managing their National Partnerships grant. She also undertook many roles during its development, including principal of the head and junior school, deputy principal and head of science, as well as teaching science. In the retirement, she enjoys developing early childhood activities for her grandchildren and maintains an active interest in educational issues. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our guest of honour, Mrs. Frances Fleeton.
Thank you very much, Fred, for that introduction. Mr Dibb, Member for Lakemba, Shadow Minister for Education, Mr Tudor Hope, Member for Epping, Life members and honorary fellows of the Guild, Guild sponsors, award finalists, guests and friends. It is with a great deal of respect that I humbly accept the honour of speaking with you this evening. I am privileged indeed to be honoured in this way, as I've been very fortunate to have enjoyed every role that I've undertaken in my educational journey. Having read most of the applications for our awards and created the citations, these educators before us give me great confidence that the education of our young people are in excellent hands, and this augurs very well for our state's future. They have demonstrated those characteristics of determination, imagination, innovation, empathy and passion for the role they play in the lives of the students they teach and mentor. Not only are they exemplary in the classroom, but their reach into every aspect of their students' education as role models is highlighted by the recommendations that they've received from their mentors and colleagues as part of the application process. You inspire me with your enthusiasm, your dedication, your energy, and as well as your deep knowledge about the students for whom you care. Never lose sight of the learning that you do each and every day when interacting with your students. It is they who encourage us to be lifelong learners. And while they also challenge us to be creative and adaptive, understanding, they are at the cornerstone of what we do. Perhaps we need to actually consider what is the role of education. Is it to prepare students for life after school, provide them with the necessary literacy and numeracy skills to enable them to pursue future careers, to develop resilience and courage to face life's difficulties, to develop young people who are critical thinkers and have the ability to think strategically and communicate effectively? Is it to enable them to achieve their full potential academically, spiritually, emotionally, physically, socially, and to ensure that when they leave school, they will have positive attitudes, sound values, and the skills that equip them for the future? Well, education must encompass all of these aspects. But perhaps education really has not changed very much since I first started teaching more than 40 years ago. Just the mode in which it's delivered and the means that are used have changed. That is not to say that your role as educators has not changed, though. In a recent report that I read, 90% of teachers reported, and I quote, "Administration, box-ticking exercises and data-related menial tasks waste valuable preparation time and get in the way of delivering authentic learning." Yes, I think I can hear some yes are positive. Administrative tasks and record keeping have more than doubled in the past 5 years. Do you feel overworked at the expense of your students? Don't feel disheartened, because many of your colleagues obviously feel the same. This year in particular has been one of tremendous educational change in New South Wales. Some of these changes have been welcomed, yet others have left us uncertain of what might be the end result. Rest assured that those who are seated in this room are very capable and experienced in their preparation for changes that will have been mooted. And I have every confidence in our ability to manage the changes that will come from the welcome review of the curriculum. Yet, how do we manage change? And more importantly, how do we educate our students to manage change in a world where change is expected? I know many teachers develop an aversion to change. We live in a timetable. You'd expect it to be constant. It's not. As role models for our students, this is perhaps not the most ideal of situations when we don't like change ourselves. As role models, we have the power to make a positive difference to our students' lives. And how do we equip them with the skills to manage change if we find it difficult ourselves? Research has found that students are motivated by their teachers' passion and their enthusiasm for what we deliver in the classroom. Students are carried along in the wake of their teachers' interests and develop a deeper interest in an understanding of their own. So how can we use this research to better prepare our students for the many changes they will face and encounter, not only just at school, but when they leave? Michael Fullan, I know many of you will know him as a well-known author on the subject of change and how it is managed, suggests that we must engage our students and our colleagues in the change process. Our students and our colleagues, as well as the parents with whom we collaborate, must have input. At times we need to act quickly and put the change into action, and very little deliberation is required. Yet other types of change can take a lot longer, and collaboration is possible. We must ensure that those resistors to change are listened to and not ignored, because they actually have something very important to tell us, and we must be open to what they suggest. In planning for change, we all need to assess it critically. Is the change desirable? Can it be implemented? We must also not assume that our version of the change is really what will occur, since our perception of change varies according to how involved we've been in the change process. More importantly, we must assume that there will be conflict, disagreement, and often disappointment that will result. People need time to manage change, and not everyone will manage it well, and we need to take that into consideration. When adults think about change, they assume that students will be the beneficiaries of that change. This is often in terms of results or skills or attitudes, yet we rarely think of students as participants in the process. Educational change is a people-related phenomenon for each and every individual in the educational community. All students must have some meaningful role in the proposed change, otherwise it's doomed to fail. For many of the changes that I've undertaken in the past in the development of the schools in which I've worked, we engaged and empowered our students. Their opinions did matter in both the introduction and the implementation of these changes. But more than that, involving the students in constructing their own meaning and learning is fundamentally essential. They learn more and are motivated to go even further because they now have a vested interest in that change. And this is what I would encourage you to develop in your future challenges. In preparing our students to handle change with some success, we need to develop strategies that prepare for the unexpected, rather than just plan for the known. Students need to manage their physical and mental well-being in order to be resilient, flexible, reliable and resourceful. By being able to overcome obstacles which accompany change, they will be able to persist in meeting challenges in the future. We must encourage students to exploit opportunities which arise, to cope with uncertainty and make things happen with limited resources. Educators at all levels should work effectively with students in partnership with families to develop strategies which students can employ to handle change. And teachers need to create a culture within which framework, teamwork and collaboration are highly valued, where teachers develop and maintain high quality communication across the community to be then build a shared set of values, ideals and beliefs. By doing this, we build a school's reputation and a trust in what can be achieved at the school. As educators, our challenge is to create a culture and an ethos in the learning community of support in handling change. Our central focus must be our students, both as learners and as people. Our students will need to seek the benefits of change. Teachers can assist this process by having positive attitudes to changes themselves and building a climate of trust, mutual respect and school identity. As change is a real part of everyday life, what essentials can school develop in students? Firstly, the ability to live in a school community with people who come from different backgrounds and the ability to develop relationships that are more than those transient, disposable ones that you can easily delete at a press of a button on Facebook or Instagram or any of those other social media types. Secondly, students need to be articulate and be able to communicate well in writing. School has the opportunity to foster this as well as other forms of communication that improve students' communication skills. And thirdly, students need to accept responsibility, to take ownership of their behaviours, to be taught how to make appropriate decisions and how to interact with others responsibly. The role of schools is more than just preparing a student for a final examination. The role of schools is to prepare students for life, one which is constantly changing and challenging. You, every single one of you, are an integral part of this change process. And so I challenge you to see how will you manage the changes ahead and how best you can prepare your students to manage the changes in the future. Did you know that up to 53% of people who hold a teaching degree do not work in education? As educators, we need to be valued as teachers. We are very aware that education struggles to attract and keep teachers. We are also aware of the sacrifice that you make of time and work balance, and yet those intrinsic rewards result in passionate individuals who have an unwavering commitment to excellence and respond with care, integrity and kindness. Great teachers know the importance of listening to others. They inspire and mentor their students by taking an active interest in their students and encourage them to engage with the world around them and persevering when faced with difficulties. We must never stop learning. That is our role in education. During my involvement in updating the Guild history, I came across a section in Ian Walker's final report as president to the 1994 annual general meeting, which could certainly apply today. He wrote, "There is a special quality to the nature of our professional fellowship, and importance of our concern for scholarship in the overall care of education, at a time when schools are being asked to provide solutions and implement measures to deal with a vast range of issues way beyond subject teaching. With these developing issues and demands, there is value in both the relatively small and independent nature of our association, not so much to seek shelter from these issues, but to share our concerns about them, and in a positive way to encourage one another and our colleagues in the contributions we can make to scholarship and quality in our schools. I congratulate the Guild on its continued success as an educational organisation that has lasted for over 125 years in providing meaningful and professional opportunities for educators in all sectors, and I commend the Guild to you. Winston Churchill said, "Success consists of going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm." May your enthusiasm for what you do last for your lifetime of learning as valued members of the educational community. Thank you.
Mr. President, Shadow Minister, Mr. Tudhope, fellows and members of the Guild and our distinguished guests. Thank you for the honour of moving this vote of thanks to our guest speaker, with whom I've had the privilege of a very long association through the Teachers Guild. She has served the Guild with distinction in numerous roles, most notably as a councillor and then as, I think, the longest serving president, and during which she oversaw the 120th anniversary and several important initiatives, including the Research Prize, the Educators Network, and the launch into social media via a website. She currently coordinates the Early Career Awards for both primary and secondary teachers and has been a member of the steering committee for the publication of the updated Guild history. As you will also know from the introduction and the outline on the program, Mrs. Fleeton is indeed an eminent educator with an extremely wide experience in schools, both government and non-government. Prominent in her support of what must be a vast number of students over the years, and as I have indicated, a marvellous contributor to the Guild. Fran, thank you most sincerely for all you have done for education in New South Wales and for engaging everyone here by sharing your reminiscences, your insights, your reflections, your wisdom, and your ideals. Your address has been inspiring and thought-provoking and challenging as we all continue to move headlong into the world of constant change while still trying to focus on our students, as you said, as learners and people who also face this challenge of change. Fran Fleeton, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight is a truly wonderful occasion at which we not only celebrate the Guild's now 126th year in caring for education, but most importantly acknowledge the very large number of educators from a wide range of schools and sectors and time in their careers who've just received or are about to receive various forms of very important recognition. The President, Dr. Fred Osmond, has asked me to announce this evening, and I do so with great pleasure, a new Teachers Guild honour, the Phyllis Evans Medal, to be presented to a distinguished educator. Phyllis Evans, MBE, was herself a great educator, someone I am very proud to say I was privileged to know when I was a student at the Guild Teachers College, and who became a mentor and a friend. She was a long-serving headmistress of Ravenswood School for Girls, a fine contributor to various professional associations, a wonderful counsellor to colleagues, and in particular served the Guild with great distinction over many decades in various roles, including Secretary, Vice President, President, Chairman of the Teacher Training Committee and Life member, attending and supporting us well after her retirement. She was a champion of teacher trainees and a wonderful model of calm, common sense, style and deportment for the young ladies under her care at Ravenswood. She possessed the quiet knack of commanding attention, someone who both students and colleagues really looked up to. I well remember, along with many others, attending her 90th birthday and admiring the esteem in which she was held. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me very much pleasure to invite Dr. Osmond to join me at the front and to present the inaugural medal to a most worthy recipient who, in so many ways, reflects the qualities I recall so clearly about Miss Phyllis Evans. Mrs. Frances Fleeton, Fellow of the Teachers Guild of New South Wales, would you please accept the award?
But we might now start our final awards category, the World Teachers Recognition Awards and Citations. Can I invite Mrs. Frances Fleeton to read out the citations? They will be presented by Mr. Jahar Dib, Shadow Minister of Education, and assisted by Catherine Cullen.
Well, good evening again, ladies and gentlemen. Gives me an enormous amount of pleasure to be able to read these citations. The people that we're going to recognise are truly remarkable in what they do in each and every school and in whatever capacity they are working. So I'll read each one individually. We do have a few, but that's okay. So our first awardee, Amanda Wilson. Amy Ayres. Andrew Facer. Anne Minot. Bahia Marlis. Kathy Fraser. Celeste White. Ching Wen Su. Cynthia Job Parker. Helen Rhodes. Jacqueline Young. James Friend. And the award will be accepted. It's going to be accepted by his nominator, Cameron Patterson. Well done. Judy Anderson. Kate Hooper. Catherine Fraser. Catherine Gentner. Catherine Pessick. Kylie Bowra. Luke Coulton. Lynette Colthorpe. Martin Lovo. Matthew Driscoll. Matthew Esterman. Nathan Crumbly. Nigel Coots. Nolene Callaghan. Rita Saka. Robin Ross. Unfortunately, Robin is unable to be here tonight and her award will be accepted by Patrick Nam. Sarah Hill. Simon Harper. Timothy Flowers. Tracy Rickson. Zenobia Cattrack.
Can we all congratulate all our teachers again? What a wonderful opportunity to actually be in front. Our students are so lucky to have these wonderful teachers. Well done. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to close the official proceedings of tonight. I hope this evening has offered you a wonderful evening in celebrating our World Teachers Award recipients, the opportunities in socialising with members, colleagues and friends. Special thanks to Norfolk Grammar School students that provided the entertainment tonight. Thank you, Norfolk Grammar. I would like to particularly thank Marilena and the management of the Concord Golf Club on their wonderful service. Thank you. I would like to thank Dr. Rob Stokes, Mr. Jahad Dib, Damien Tudorhope for their time in attending and presenting these awards. Thank you. These awards wouldn't have been possible for the benefit from the generous sponsorship by the following sponsors in supporting the awards. ANZ Education, representing tonight Daniel Mundy, Simon Withers and Michael Evans. Thank you very much. Teachers Mutual Bank, we put you first. We'd particularly like to thank Connor Keenan and David Herring in being here tonight representing the Teachers Mutual Bank. MWLP, Linking Youth, represented by Dr. David Williams and Michael Everett. And Snap Printing Burwood, represented by Bina Thakur and Gina Turner. Thank you very much for the printing. I'd particularly like to thank the Council of the Teachers Guild of New South Wales, but particularly the chairs of all our award panels. Their time, their dedication in being involved in this process, we really appreciate for their time, and we thank them, coordinated by Mrs. Frances Fleeton. Thank you very much. The Council of Teachers Guild of New South Wales thanks everyone's attendance tonight. I wish all the award recipients the greatest satisfaction, enjoyment on their work and future endeavours. Thank you and good night.